Okay. Hey, welcome to a live stream. Wasn't intending on live streaming today, and hopefully the audio and everything comes through on this particular video. You can see I'm using StreamYard. My live streaming software that I normally use, which is OBS, was acting crazy, but I wanted to stay true to posting a video every single day. So give me a little bit of grace. Today got away from me, and I didn't get a chance to record and edit a video. But let's just go ahead and jump right into On1 Photo Raw 2024. I have a pre-release version that I was given permission to share with you all. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to share the pre-release version, and let's go ahead and just make this a full screen. So that way we're taking up all the real estate that we possibly can. So as you can see, this is a whole new user interface. And this is actually kind of cool because the way that the interface is set up is kind of reduced, and it's not as, I guess, crowded as the former version of PhotoRaw used to be. But I actually kind of got used to that. So this has been taking some getting used to. One of the first things that I want to do is show you how to kind of get back some things if you like the older style of setup, sort of. All right. If you look over on the right-hand side here, you can see I don't really have much of anything, I guess, listed here. So what I'm going to do is come over to Window, and then I'm going to come all the way down to the bottom and Show Right Bumper. That's going to resize some things inside of On1, but you can see I now get the load into layers option, as well as the pano option, the focus, HDR, the focus stacking, and then the time lapse. And then I also get my other export, my resize, print, all those things that we're used to being able to see. Those are now here on my pane. Now let me see if I can move myself. I'm gonna just go full screen. There we go. So over here in the left-hand corner, you can see we have two options down here now. All right. We have the browse feature, and then we have this drop-down arrow where all of the other view features are. Now, that could be a minor issue. It just depends on what it is that you're used to. If this is something that causes, a little bit of friction or grief, but knowing that you would have to hit this drop down or this little arrow is probably value added. Otherwise, if I select this image here and then I click on the full screen, you can see it takes me to a full screen view of this particular image. And then if I wanted to go back to browse, I can just click browse in the lower left-hand corner there, and it all works out. The left side is where a lot of the changes kind of happen. One, there's not that many icons over here on the left side of the interface anymore. And instead, you got three icons, one of those being browse, the other one being edit, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. And then, of course, you have this little more icon option. This is kind of cool if you like to have things minimized. I will tell you that it takes a little getting used to. It's not the most savvy of things, if you will. But it definitely does take some getting used to. So with that being said, I can go straight into the develop module. I can go into the local adjustments, sky swap. You see what's here. And then if I wanted to share this, I have all of my options to do so right here as well. But what we really care about is being able to edit a photo. And that's kind of where I want to talk about the main things that you got to know in order to edit your photos and get the user interface operating. So let me go ahead and put the webcam back on. And the very first thing that I think you should do is, before you do anything else in On1 Photo Raw, especially in this new version, is you should come up to the preferences. And then I think it is under probably should have checked this. Yeah. Okay. So it's under the general tab, and then double click in browse opens and edit, or you can make it zoom in. But I think double clicking is going to be the way to go here in the future of On1 Photo Raw 2024. The reason why I say that is one of the things when I first started using Photo Raw 2024, I kept going over here to the right bumper, and it's like, nope, edit's over here on the left. But instead, what I did is I just made it double click. So now when I double click an image, that takes me into edit. And that is just a little bit more intuitive for me. You let me know what works best for you or what you think works for you. And if you're watching a live stream, if you wouldn't mind just letting me know that you guys can hear me, because I would hate to be making all of this content, if I will, and no audio is actually being transmitted over to YouTube. But with that being said, here we are inside of the interface itself. Now, or the editing module, I should say. Over here on the left-hand side, we do have a little bit of a change. Again, we see more of that consolidation. We don't have as much over here on the left-hand side. And we'll talk about that here in a little bit, because I think it's important for you to know where tools are. All right. But what we also have is this readjustable layers pane. So I can make this as big or as small as I need to. And that can be very helpful if you are doing stuff that requires a little bit of layer manipulation, things of that sort. Now, if you're not doing sorry, I had to clear my throat. If you're not doing layer manipulation, then all is well. You'll be all right. You'll also notice that the layout here is a little bit different, where we used to have develop and then effects and then portrait, or sky and then portrait, and then we had local on the far side. They actually just flip-flopped local and effects. So that's a thing that, again, threw me off a little bit when I first started using the software. But now that I have gotten more comfortable with it and familiar, it doesn't throw me off as much, but something to be aware of. And then, of course, we have Brilliance AI, which we're going to get into here in a little while. But what I want to do is actually, we'll just go ahead and add a filter really quick. So I'm just going to add a border filter. Doesn't really matter which one I add, because what I want to show you is actually this new masking window. This is a floating window. All right. And when you first open yours, it may look like this. And this threw me off big time when I first started editing inside of On1 2024, because it's like, okay, where did my masking options go? All right. So if you click on global settings, then you end up seeing all of the stuff that we're used to seeing inside of the masking options that are normally kind of locked in, or not kind of, they are locked in on the right side panel here. However, you can now minimize those, and then I can get color range. And then we have all of our buttons that we used to be able to click. Those are now at the bottom of this floating window. And if you have a second monitor, you can put this onto that second monitor. So you don't have to keep it in the work area. But for me, I find it that I need it to be closer to my image, because if I'm going to be editing my image, I need to be able to get to the tools inside of the masking menus as I want to. And then your blending options are also over here. This window, however, cannot really be resized right now. That may come in a later update. I don't know, but it can't be resized right this second. All right. Other than that, it's the same information that we've always had access to, with the exception of the text, because now they moved the text information over here. So if you use text, which I'm going to make a completely separate video and separate content around text inside of Photo Raw 2024. But If for any reason, you're looking at it and you're like, you know what, I want to know more about text, then let me know in the comment section below and I'll get that out maybe a little bit sooner. But I just wanted to show you where the masking stuff is. Now, one of the other changes to the interface really comes down to the masking brushes. All right. So right now you can see I have the masking brush selected up here at the top of my screen. And then the masking bug is over to the right of that. And then if I hit this drop down, you can see I get all of the other masking tools as well as the refinement tools. I think this is where keyboard shortcuts are really going to come in handy for anyone who is looking to use PhotoRaw 2024, because sometimes, like, navigating through all of this may not be the most user friendly, right? But that's okay. All of the keyboard shortcuts are sitting right here next to the brushes. So if you have an Elgato Stream Deck, like I have mentioned in the past, I still owe you guys a video on that. But if you have an Elgato Stream Deck, then you can obviously go ahead and map buttons to each one of these particular keystrokes, or you can just have a little cheat sheet and then hit the keyboard shortcut. That'll get you where you got to be. Hey, what's up, TC? Good to see you, my man. But overall, I just wanted you to know that the brushes and everything that you're used to seeing on the left side or up here at the top, it is still here. It's just kind of tucked away, but not a problem, right? And then everything else across the top here makes perfect sense. Keyboard shortcut of Shift X moves you from paint in and erase. Now, right now, that is a little bit different because if you're not used to the phrase erase, right? Because in the older versions of ON1, it was paint in and paint out. But now it's paint and erase. But the keyboard shortcuts, they all still work. I just hit Command R to bring up the perfect brush. So all of that still works and no issues there. Now we'll jump over. I'm going to close this out real quick. Now we'll jump over into the left-hand, what are these? Preset columns. It's right here in front of me, presets. And you can see that let me see if I can make this a little bit larger so we can read that better. Sorry if the screen was flashing there. Whenever the user interface needs to update on my computer particularly, it flashes. I will say that I have not had a crash with 2024, and I hope not to ever have one. So that's kind of cool. But you got two, or really it's just one new thing, right? You got the AI style advisor. Hey, buddy, I'm recording. My dog is making all kinds of noise back here. You got the AI style advisor. And if you click on that, I'm really excited for what this is going to do. I'm not fully aware of it, so I'm not going to make too many comments on it right now. But I will share kind of my thoughts because I'm excited of what this may be able to do. The first one is going to be the ON1 style, right? So if I hover over this, you can see it's changing, or it will change eventually. There we go. It changed to that one. It's changing the overlays or the presets, the effects that are being applied to the image, which is actually really, really cool because, you may not always know what you want to do with an image, but something like this could get you kickstarted, and then you can go in and tweak it a little bit more. But what I'm really excited for, and I'm not entirely sure how this is going to work. I got to talk to the team over at ON1. But the My Style, right now it says still learning your style, add effects to more photos. So in the realm of AI, the way that it kind of works is you get photos, or you feed it information, you feed the AI information, and then it feeds you back results. So I think what's going to happen is everyone's going to kind of get their own ability to train the AI based off of how you like to edit certain photos with particular effects and things of that sort over time. And then it's going to master, or not master, it's going to get an idea of, hey, this is what I think you should be doing to the photo, or here's a preset that you commonly use, or here's some effects with settings that you commonly use, things of that sort. So I'm really excited to see how this particular aspect is going to build out. But, you know, again, I didn't talk to the ON1 team about this just yet, but I'm actually really excited if that is the case, because just think about it. If you have a signature editing style and you want your photos to do those edits, right? Instead of creating a preset with that signature style, maybe there's going to be a photo that is a little overexposed, but it knows how much exposure you like to remove from an image, or how you like to adjust the shadows in a particular image, things of that sort. And it's using intelligence to actually make those adjustments to your photo on top of whatever else you want to do. So I'm actually really excited for that. But again, I don't know if that's how that's going to work. I hope it is, because it's talking about looking at my photos or looking at my effects, and I got to feed it information. So hopefully that made sense to you and everything else. All right, let me, you know what? I'm just going to turn off that border. And now we're going to kind of look at the user interface for some of the tools, and then we'll jump back into browse and take a look there. So here we are on the develop portion, and you can see that Brilliance AI is here, and I'm sure everybody's like, man, Chris, just go ahead and show us how it works. I'm going to hit the button and see what happens. All right. So we're going to let Brilliance AI kind of think through the image, and this is what it thinks is the most appropriate for this particular image. I don't know if that's good, bad, and different. Doesn't really matter. But if I click on the little area, click on Brilliance AI or the area over to the side, now I get access to the Brilliance AI toolbar, so to speak. And, you know, you get an amount slider. Think of this as your AI auto tuner. As I pull this to the left, you can see that the photo changes. And as I pull it to the right, the photo changes more. I wouldn't get too carried away with this amount slider, because this is working kind of like what I call a proportionate slider to the things that are further down here, like your tone and color and things of that sort. All right. But I'm going to pull this back just a little bit, because I don't want that to be an orange photo, and you'll see why I did that here in a second. Then you have the fine tune and the color amount. Now I'm just going through this really quickly. I will do a dedicated video on Brilliance AI and ways that you can incorporate it, hopefully, into your workflow, into your photos, because I think this is kind of cool, and there's some ways of getting practical use out of it. So if I pull down on the tone, you can see this is like an opacity slider, which we never had before for the tone and color module, but this one is only impacting tone. Now, the downside to PhotoRaw 2024, at least right now, I haven't figured out how to do it. If I click on tone and color, it's going to collapse Brilliance AI, which means I can't watch as I pull the slider left and right. I can't watch all of these items get modified. However, we'll look at exposure and contrast. You can see exposure is at 0.19, and then the contrast is at 9. So if I were to go back over here, and I'm just going to pull this tone slider down to the left, and it doesn't really matter what the numbers are, but you can see that it is proportionately modifying just the tone options. It didn't actually mess with the color segment that's down here, which can also be collapsed now. So if you find yourself in a situation, this is one of the main things about the UI. If you find these light gray words, if you click on them, then you can collapse them. So, hey, what's up, Ableton Live producer and pink waving? Hand pink waving? Oh, all right, TC. So if you click on these little gray words, then it's going to collapse those sections. So you may end up at some point in your ON1 2024 journey with something that looks like this. And you're like, whoa, where's all my sliders at? Hey, don't worry about it. They're still there. You just have to click on these things to show them, and then you'll be good to go. All right. And that's really a general rule of thumb for pretty much every single window. All right. So you can minimize all of these, and, I guess I don't need to mess with that, but you get the point, right? So I will digress on that aspect. Now, what we also can do, because when we start talking about Brilliance AI, it's how do I modify the Brilliance AI to do, like, kind of fine tune it? Again, I'm not going to go into a deep dive, but let's say Brilliance AI didn't do what you expected it to do, and now you want something like AI Auto. Well, how do I get to that? If you come over here to method, right, and if options is hidden, just click it, and then you hit this drop down. You can click on AI Auto, and that's going to give you the traditional AI Auto. All right. And what you still have this amount slider, and this is going to manipulate that tone and color, tone and color together. Or if you want it to fine tune, because maybe you're getting too much color when you pull this to the right, then what you can do is come over to the tone slider by itself and do all that good stuff. I keep saying I'm not going to go deep into Brilliance AI. I just think that that's one of those areas where many people are asking questions and how that's going to work. And it is a big part of this user interface. So that's the main reason why I'm sharing the information about it and talking it through a little bit. But let me know your questions about Brilliance AI. What do you want to see? What don't you care to see? Things of that sort. And then we have a few other options here. What I will show you is how you can manipulate this no noise AI, because sometimes you may not want to apply no noise AI when Brilliance AI is activated based off of the fact that the ISO level, right? So how do you discriminate for that? Well, we're going to go back to preferences, and then I believe it is under files, if I'm not mistaken. Nope, don't think it's there. Sorry. I should have kind of practiced this beforehand. I've been using ON1, and I just want to make sure it is in here. It's Brilliance AI, like, duh. All right. So when you go to preferences, click all the way over to Brilliance AI, and you can change white balance to the default, whatever you want it to be. You can leave it at as shot or auto. I usually get the white balance pretty decent in camera. So as shot probably will work out just fine for what I want to do. And then I have the apply no noise AI to raw files. And this is where you get to choose what your threshold is. So I usually don't want to apply no noise until I'm at 1600. I think that that's a general rule of thumb. 1600, it can turn itself on, and I think that that will be okay. Then what we have is apply portrait AI, prominent faces, off and on. Those are the only two options you get. I say you should test it out. If you are photographing a lot of portraits, then maybe turning this on is going to be in the better interest for your particular workflow. But that's a choice that you have to make for you. Then, of course, down here we have the Brilliance AI settings of how you want that to kind of work when it automatically applies. So, if you find that Brilliance AI is a little heavy handed for your work, well, you can pull down this slider and it'll apply it at a 43. The problem with this, in my opinion, until one, I haven't learned what these numbers are really representative of. I don't know if a 43 is strong or if it's not strong. This is something you just got to kind of play around with. Uh, but, it's 0 to 200. And 100 is the 50% mark of where it is right now. So I think that as time goes on and you get more used to using Brilliance AI, you'll be able to come in here and identify which one will work the best for you. And just think about the speed of editing. And, that's something worthwhile. So hopefully that makes sense. It is a part of the user interface. So, uh, yeah, I'm just going to, well, you can't double click this to reset it. But you can click in here and reset that. So I'll just go ahead and hit OK because I'm good with all of the settings that I have there. So the last part of the user interface that I wanted to show you is actually in the browse module. So I'm just going to hit the X on this because I don't want to save any of that. The search menu is a little bit different now. And I see your question, Ableton. I'll get to it here in 1 second. The search menu is a little bit different now, but it's not that big of a deal. I think that it's okay. You just got to know where it's at, right? And if you use the Smart Organize ever, just know that it is now at the top of the menu bar here. Now, in order to search for a file, you can come over here to search, hit the drop down, and then you can hit search all known photos. But then you're like, okay, well, what am I actually looking for? Because I don't have anything to type in. Well, if you come over here and you can either click on text, and now you have a text field. You can click on attributes, and now you also have an attributes field. You can click on faces if you are training ON1 to identify the faces, or if you wanted to use its own AI to figure out like, hey, I have a file with 2 faces in it and the age, we'll kind of guess. You can see I got photos of my family coming in here. We'll go with child. So let's see if it can find photos of a child. You can see I just got a bunch of family photos and stuff like that. Or I can just refresh this. Not going to worry about that. And then I can go by metadata. I have a lot of different options here. Now, when you go with the text field, okay, if I click that, I can add multiple instances of the text field. All right. And what this allows me to do, let me just turn off attribute. So now I just have, well, all right. Come on, computer. You can work with me. So it's metadata. I'm sorry. I said text. I meant to say metadata. You can add multiple instances of metadata. So that way you can really start to hone in on your files here. So if I come here, I go to camera, and then we'll go with camera model contains, and then I'm just going to put EOS, or actually D3400. Hit enter. Let's see if I got any. Okay, so here's all the files that I've photographed with a D3400. I can hit plus, and then I can come in here and I can type in tree. And what this is going to do is look for any files that have a camera model of a D3400, and then a tree is somewhere in the file. These are photos that I took of my family when we went to SeaWorld as well as Legoland. So, just travel photos, stuff like that. There's ways of finding the files. This is actually really cool. You see how fast it went. This is all in real time because one, I'm live, so I'm not actually, I'm not guessing, or I'm sorry, I'm not like editing the video. This is all live. But what I know the On1 team has been showcasing a lot of, we'll come back over here to my tutorial files. And for the sake of just showing you how fast the actual interface is, I am going to double click on, we'll open up this picture of waffles. So I'll just double click that. The file opens up. Again, this is all in real time, and it didn't actually the analyze option, but that's fine. Not a big deal. I'll work on that later. But you can see that the file opened up extremely fast, all in real time. I'm not like speeding this up because I'm doing this as a live edit, or I'm sorry, as a live stream. But down here, they're calling this the cookie crumb bar, is what I think they're calling it. And this is something worth noting because if you like to use the film strip, which I've done in the past, then you got to hit that little chevron. But now that film strip is saved as kind of a preset. I don't know if that's the best way of saying it, but it is something that is saved in there. And you can kind of jump between browse and the film strip. But if I need to jump to a file that I was editing along earlier in the day, well, now I have these other photos that are down here in my recent files. I can jump to those if I just click on the first little down arrow. It's kind of small. When you get to if once you get your release of 2024 on November 2nd, then you'll be able to follow along, and you'll see this little arrow if it's too small on the screen. But it brings up all of the recent places. So favorites, if you have a place where you like to edit from primarily, think of the favorites from 2023 or 2022, I think is when they started the favorites. Think of that. Now you have access to that down here in this cookie crumb bar, as well as albums. Right now in this version, I only have one album created. And then, of course, you have all your recent folders that you went to, and then your recent images. So if you want to copy some settings and move that along, then you can do so. Now, one of the other things that I will mention about the interface is masking. So let me just throw a quick mask. Actually, you know what? We'll just hit Brilliance AI. We'll see what Brilliance AI finds in this photo because it is a little soft focus on my dog. But if I click on this local adjustments, it found flora and sky. So let me just jump over to flora. I'm going to hit the letter O, and you can see this is the mask. Everything except for my dog is what it's finding. It does a pretty decent job at masking and doing everything there. However, if you want to change from the grayscale to the red overlay, previously you would come up here and you would click on mask and then view mode, and you can do that over here. However, if you don't like to do that, or if you want a more streamlined way, I guess, intuitive way, then you can come over to the mask icon down at the very bottom of the viewer, click the little chevron, and now I can change this to the red overlay. So that way I have the option to change my mask overlay. That's kind of a small thing, but something worth noting. And then nothing different with the preview selection of what you are editing and what you are not editing. So let me hit the letter O to turn off that mask. And then I am going to make this a full screen because that's how I prefer to do it. So let me get a quick sip of water, and then I'm going to answer Ableton Live's question. And yeah. Okay. So his question is, Do you think this version is faster, snappier than the current version? Are you experiencing a snappier performance? I feel like they're, yeah, I could show this. There we go. So that way everybody can read the comment here. So, do you think this new version is faster, snappier than the current version? Are you experiencing a snappier performance? The truth is, yes, I do think that this is a little bit more snappier than the previous version. I've been showing that, you've seen me do everything live. I promise I'm not doing anything to manipulate the software. I'm just using it like a normal person would use the software, at least as I would imagine a person would use it. So yeah, I do think it is more snappier than usual. Like I'm zooming in and out. So hopefully that answers the question. It really is a faster program. When I was working in the beta and they asked me like, "Hey, what are your initial thoughts?" The very first thing that I thought is this is a really fast version of the software, hands down. It really is. And I know that there's going to be some people that say, well, why are we getting a faster version just now? And I don't have an answer to that, other than the fact that we are getting a faster version of On1 Photo Raw, which that has been a complaint that I've seen in multiple forums. People have commented on my own videos saying that Photo Raw is cool, but it's too slow. And I'm not, I wouldn't disagree with them. It was slow, but that's kind of a thing of the past. The program is working pretty good and really fast now. So, to kind of bring the live stream to a close, I'm just going to do a really quick edit of my dog here, Mr. Waffles. And I think I'm going to edit this particular image because why not? But if you got questions about Photo Raw 2024, and while I'm live, you can go ahead and ask them now. And who knows, maybe I'll do live streams leading every day leading up to the release, and then do a live stream there, because I'm running out of time to edit videos with the stuff that I got to do, husband, father, employee, things like that. So that's just real life. It's real life. But I'm excited to bring this particular content. All right. So I'm going to go ahead, come back over here. I'm going to reset Brilliance AI. Actually, I'm just going to turn it off. All right. I'm going to see how long it actually takes me to edit this particular photo. So let me get my timer up on my phone. And here it is. All right. So I'm just going to make a stopwatch. And, this is me editing. Yes, I have been using the 2024 version for a little while now. But I promise you, I'm going to try to make this as intuitive of a user experience as anyone else would do. So hit the timer and let's go. So first thing that I would do is just click on Brilliance AI, which you kind of already seen what it was doing there. Bring down this fine tune, and I'm just going to pull left and right, see what happens. I kind of want the overall flora to be darker, and I want waffles to be brighter. So what I'm going to do is click here. I'll click on flora. That brings me over here to my local adjustments, and the opacity is pretty low here. But what I want to do is pull down on the exposure of that flora, so that way waffles will stand out. So I'm going to pull up on the opacity just a little bit more. And I think that that's going to work. I'm going to go ahead and click on the mask. That brings me to my masking property box thingy-majig. All right. Then I'm going to hover over this one to copy the mask. In fact, let me hit O. I want to clean up the mask really quickly. So what I'm going to do is hit Shift and X to erase, or I'm sorry, Shift and X to paint in. And I want to, oh, I was right. I wasn't on paint in. There we go. I want to paint in those areas up at the top, make sure that I got those, come down the side here because it looks like it didn't actually get all of those things. And I'm going pretty quick here. I promise you, I did not rehearse this. This is just me in real time. And this is just how intuitive the software really is. We're about a minute and 30 into the edit. I'm going to hit the letter O. That brings me back to the file here. I'm going to hit the copy button, make sure I got that copied. And then I'm going to hit new adjustment. We're going to left click there. So that way I can paste the mask. And then I'm going to invert the mask. And then what I'm going to do is really just use a style. All right. So style is kind of hidden here. I'm going to hit this drop down, and then I am going to come to exposure plus, click that, hit the letter O. Yep, I think that looks pretty decent. And I'm going to pull up on this a bit. I'm going to contrast him because I think that by making him brighter, that's going to be cool. All right. Now I need to do a little bit of work in the face of my dog here. So I'm going to go ahead and hit apply, and then add adjustment. I'm going to increase the exposure, increase a little bit of the contrast, pull up on the structure, and even pull up on the midtones. I'll modify that a little bit later. And then what I'm going to do with a paint in, I'm just going to come right over his face here. And this is, of course, way too strong and not what I really wanted. So I'm just going to pull this back using the opacity because I think that that works out pretty well. Excuse me for 1 second. Talking really fast it makes your voice anyway. So here we are now at 3 minutes into the edit. So I think that this looks pretty good. He is definitely glowing around the outside, so I want to clean that up because that's just the way it is. So I'm going to click over here, click on the mask, and then I am going to hit the drop down. And of course, it's going off the screen. But what I want is the refinement brush. I'm going to click that. I'm sorry, I want the chisel brush. So should be this one. Yeah. So you're going to select the chisel brush. I know it was off the screen. It kind of just got hidden there, but oh well. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to double click the actual brush to remove some of that mask. Hit the letter O so you can see this in action. Double click and should have removed. It's removing it little by little, hitting the letter O. I may need to go up on my pixel count. So let me bring it up to about 24. Double click. And this should be removing, but for some reason, why are you not removing? This is embarrassing now. It's like removing it little by little. It's like such a small amount. So I'm just going to go with like a crazy amount, like 59, and then double click. And you can see that that's kind of bringing in that glow. So bring it up to 85. All I'm trying to do is not make this glow halo around my dog. Double clicking just does it around the entire mask, which is why I'm using that method. But it sure is, it's getting a little weird. Wasn't working the best. All is well, though. So next thing that I'll do, or some of the final touches, I'm going to come to retouch, and I don't want the retouching tool. I think I'll go with the magic eraser. We'll see how well this works. I'm going to try and erase this little piece here. And then, to keep this PG, come down here and just click once, get rid of that. Yep, that looks pretty decent. I can live with that. And then I'm okay with the little bits and pieces on his muzzle here. But let me zoom in. Uh-oh, did not mean to do that. Don't do that, guys. And you'll also notice that I did not make a, let me hit Command Z on that. I don't even know if it deleted anything or not. Holding the space bar, then click and drag. I was just moving faster than I needed to. I'd normally create a layer so that way if I mess something up, I always have that to go back to. But I didn't create the layer this time. No worries. Speaking of which, I do need to show you the layer pane before I get off of the live stream. So that way you all know how that goes. All right. So I think I got everything there. Hit Command 0 to zoom out. And now I think I got a pretty good photo. Took me 7 minutes and 20 seconds. I don't know if that's going to come through on the stream or not, but 7 minutes, 20 seconds. Again, I was kind of taking my time, even though it did look like I was moving pretty quick. I could move a lot faster if I had to. So that would be the overall final edit. Now I'm going to rename this face light. I'm going to rename this. Oh, what is it? Oh, it's a weird, weird thumbnail there because it looks like it didn't do anything. But I'm going to label this dog light. And you'll see why I'm labeling these here in a second. And then Brilliance AI Flora and all that good stuff is perfectly fine. So let's go ahead and make our layers pane a little bit larger. And if I come over here and click this little arrow, if your layer name is not so long, then it's not hard to find that arrow. In fact, let me show you what I'm talking about. So if I right click this, can I rename you? Nope, it's not going to let me rename this layer. Oh, yes, it will. Okay, layer 1. Boom. So when I hover over this, you can see that that little arrow, it just kind of stands out a little bit better. It's easier to get to. So I can click that and you see that I have retouching. If I turn that off and turn it back on, this is giving me that retouching. So now, you know what? I may not actually need the layer anymore because this literally just made the erase tool non-destructive, which was not the case in previous versions. Because essentially what I can do is just turn off the retouching and now I don't have that gone anymore. So that's kind of cool. I just found that out. What do you know? All right. So we'll turn that back on because I did want to erase everything that I did. And then if you hit the drop down, you get the develop and you can see it's just showing you all of your layers or the items based off of the layer that you're on. This can come in extremely handy when you got like 4 or 5 layers and you want to jump straight to the effect that you need. So let's say I need to get to color and tone for whatever reason. So if I click on it, double click it, sorry, you got to double click it. It brings up the color and tone. And then if I want to get to lens correction, I can double click that. If I want to get to noise and sharpening, see, I clicked it once, didn't work, but if I double click it, it opens up. Same thing with Flora, all that good stuff. And, you know, you can just kind of navigate that way without having to figure out like, okay, where's that thing? Now, the reason why I renamed those layers from, you know, adjustment layer to face light, and then for some reason, this one's still labeled adjustment. That's weird. Even though I did label this dog light. Pre-release software, sometimes things just don't work out. But that's hopefully something that you can see. You rename it like I did with the face light one. I wonder if I put like dog light 2, if that'll fix it. No, doesn't seem to. Let me minimize it, open it up. Whatever. pre-release software, sometimes things just don't work. And I thought it was weird with this particular thumbnail not reflecting the mask itself, or at least a preview of the mask. So yeah, but that I think will do it, my friends. Let me go ahead and make this a full page here. I'll bring this over to the other window. I actually really enjoy doing live streams. Uh, I know that there's this whole StreamYard logo um, on the overall stream, but that's just the way it is for today. And uh, there's like this weird thing over my face. I didn't even realize that. Yeah, hopefully I get my original streaming software or my normal streaming software up and running. So, because this, like, I don't even know what that is or why that's there. Anyway, um, yeah, let me know your questions, and uh, thanks, Hazelnut. Um, yeah, and I want to be as informative as I possibly can. Now that I can actually talk about my experiences with On1 Photo Raw, I'm going to be bringing more and more content because I really only shared a few of the items here on this particular live stream, which I didn't intend to do a live stream today. That just happened. But I think the live streams hopefully are engaging and you can ask your questions. So I'll try and do another live stream, or I'll probably be doing live streams all the way up until it's released. That way you can come and ask the questions. And I'll just have different contents of photos, different photos. Uh, and that way we can look at different subject matter. So macro, landscape, portrait, vehicle, product photography, you name it. I'll go grab a photo either off of Unsplash or out of my own catalog, edit those photos, and kind of walk you through what you can and can't do with 2024. We'll also look at how the max version works, when that is going to work. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I got planned for 2024. I'm super, super excited for this particular release. And I see TC is super excited for the release. And then, we got a few things, a few people that are excited for the release. So I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me. And I look forward to bringing more content. So please drop your questions about it either in the comment section on the live stream. You can send me an email at freewillphotos@gmail.com. Or you can go over to my website, do all that good stuff. So I appreciate you guys all coming through, and I will see you on the next live stream. So until the next time, I want you guys to stay inspired and keep creating. Peace.